Welcome to the Real Estate Investing Morning Show with your hosts, Wayne and Gabby.
Okay, good morning, real estate investors.
Hello, hello.
Welcome to the Canadian Real Estate Investing Morning Show. My name's Wayne.
And I'm Gabby.
And we are so excited here to talk to you today about landlord and tenant Q&A. That's what we're going to be diving into today. Specifically, I want to focus in on enforcing your lease. Yesterday we talked about lease agreements, how to build your lease agreement.
Yeah.
Today I want to talk about enforcing it. Today I want to talk about how to show you, how to teach you how to be a badass landlord. Kind of landlord doesn't take shit from nobody.
I'm like in heaven this week. I love that everything so far has been on landlording. This is my jam. I'm where I'm supposed to be this week.
Yeah.
I love it.
I'll just be your sticky peanut butter, baby.
What?
Peanut butter and jam.
Oh, okay. I'm with you. I caught up. Got it.
Yeah, that wasn't like a pop culture reference or anything.
I thought it was. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And thank you to everybody who's joining us live on YouTube this morning. If you'd like to join us in the live show, we broadcast the show live every weekday morning at 7 a.m. on YouTube. Just look up Wayne Hillier. That's where we broadcast the live show from. And you can be a part of the conversation. You can ask your questions in the chat. We provide free coaching for real estate investors every weekday morning. All you got to do is get your lazy landlord butts out of bed.
I like that.
Right? I see Kyla's in the chat here. She says, good morning. Today is a fucking day.
No.
Oh, sorry. It was cut off there.
Very, very different meaning.
Do you see how it was cut off there?
I did. That's why I pulled it up on my phone to see what she actually said.
She said today is a great fucking day.
I was like, either she's having a really bad day.
Today is a fucking day.
Or
man.
a really good day. And that word great really matters in this.
Yeah. Sorry. My screen's a little bugged up today.
Yeah. And Chris says, yes, Kyla, that's some energy.
Different energy than what I originally read, but yeah.
Slightly different.
I was like, okay, cancel today's topic. I got to hear what's going on with Kyla. Okay.
Got to get her to call in.
All right. Well, like I said, we're broadcasting the show live like we do every weekday morning at 7 a.m. We do that from Edmonton, Alberta. And we had some really, really nice weather last night in Edmonton. I think it was like 26, 27 degrees. What can we expect from Edmonton's weather today and the weather across Canada today?
The weather today will be 27 degrees in Edmonton, 18 degrees in Vancouver, 27 degrees in Winnipeg, 28 degrees in Hamilton, and 20 degrees in Halifax.
Wow. Hot.
Thanks,
hot,
Abby.
hot.
Yeah.
And it's 28 degrees in the hammer.
Are you happy, Chris? He says, yes, Everly.
That's a humid
Yes,
heat, though.
queen.
That's a humid heat. Right?
Hamilton humid?
Yeah, they got all those lakes. They got those lakes they're surrounded by. Like I said, we're going to be talking today all about how to be a strong landlord, type of landlord that knows what they're doing. And I'm not telling you, I make jokes from time to time. I'm not telling you, as landlords, we need to be like big, scary bears. I don't know. But throw me a lifeline here.
You don't.
What am I trying to say? What am I trying to say?
That you don't need to be you don't need to be an asshole.
Oh, okay. That wasn't much better. I was trying to be a little more polite and PG, but yeah.
Oh, no, I was just thinking, because I think
firm is what, unwavering is what Chris says.
Unwavering.
He's pretty fast, even though there's a 2-second delay on YouTube as well. So he's right on this.
And he's still helping us.
He's still helping us.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like there's a balance with landlording.
Yeah.
And you don't want to swing too far in either direction. You don't want to be the friendly landlord who's having dinner with your tenants and, getting presents for little Sally and, you become family.
Right.
I mean, some people might want that, but that's not how you run a good business.
This is a business.
Because when Jim and Susie and little Sally can't pay their rent, you become a really big pushover. But then on the other side of it,
Why was little Susie on the lease? just curious. Sally, whatever the name is. Yeah.
But then when you swing on the other side of it and you're just like strict down to business, this is like you're like an army what do you call them, drill sergeant. Nobody's gonna stay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's a balance of humanity in there, and just being a good person, but also being strict in how you run your business.
But today's episode is not necessarily about should you be strict or should you not be strict. Today's episode is about, in the event, because we were talking about building a lease yesterday, in the event that you don't, you build a good lease and then the tenant doesn't follow it, how do you enforce it? And there were some questions that got sent in by email.
Yes.
Specifically about this. We had a couple last week that we never got to, and then another one that came in yesterday talking about the RTDRS, which is the Residential Tenancy Dispute Resolution Service, which is basically a landlord and tenant court for Alberta. And there's a question about that, and there is an investor listener that was served by a tenant. So we're going to be talking about that too. Normally, a lot of the stuff we talk about is serving our tenants because the tenant is not doing what they're supposed to do. Well, apparently this investor's in trouble. What did you not do? I'm willing to bet they did everything right, but they were served. And that's a little confusing because we don't really talk about that. And most people don't deal with that very often. It's very, I will you say, uncommon to be served by a tenant?
Yeah. If you're doing your job properly and you're not just, out there willy-nilly doing whatever you want, this is very uncommon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You betcha. And we as well have an ongoing an issue with the tenants that is very likely going to be going to the RTDRS as well. We'll be sharing a little bit about that. Okay, so what else do we got to cover on today's show? Tomorrow we have a special guest.
Yes, we do.
Keaton Kirkwood, investor-focused mortgage broker extraordinaire, is going to be on the show. We're going to be talking all about
interest rates.
I was going to say, did you want to take a guess?
Oh.
Interest rates. Yeah, the mortgage brokers come and talk about interest rates.
No.
Yeah, which is,
wow,
he's got an interesting, not a take, but he's got an interesting thing he wants to talk about because guess what? Rates have been going down, but nobody's talking about it. And he's going to be sharing why. And it's going to be quite interesting, and I think you guys are going to want to tune in for that. Yeah, so that's what we got going on tomorrow. Some other upcoming events maybe we could talk about as well. The June 12th event in Edmonton. Edmonton Garden Suites 101. This is not one you're going to want to miss. This is the one that everybody's been waiting for. This is your opportunity to learn how to take advantage of the newest, best cash flowing opportunity in Canada. Not just in Edmonton, in Canada. Because Edmonton is letting us build significantly more than what we could build before. And that has opened up tremendous opportunities. This has been a personal project of mine. Wayne Hillier has been working on this for 2 years secretly. I am finally revealing all the information now. I am teaching you guys how to fully maximize the potential for each and every one of your lots in Edmonton. If you've got a lot that's got a big old booty, I want to build on it. I'm going to show you how to build on it.
He wants you to build on it.
I want you to build on it.
He's not going to build on it.
Yeah, sorry. We're going to give you all of the contacts, all the information, everything you need to know about it, the financing, you name it, to make sure that you can get the highest and best use out of your properties in Edmonton. It is on June 12th. You can register and get tickets. You got to get tickets, and there are a limited amount of tickets, by the way. You can get your tickets at reimasters.ca under the events tab. If you want the direct link, it's reimasters.ca/Edmonton Garden Suites 101. It's going to be awesome.
Can I say something?
Sure.
I haven't thought this through, so bear with me. But
we can always cut it out.
What's that?
We can always cut it out.
No, you're not gonna want to cut it out. I haven't gathered all my words yet. But these garden suites are, I personally, Wayne, think that this is like probably the coolest thing that you've ever come up with.
Second coolest, but yeah.
Well, okay. Yeah. Second
Thank
coolest.
you. I just wanted to be honest.
But as far as like something that I'm like really stoked to be involved in and to get behind and like have extreme amounts of confidence in. Like, this is it. And the fact that I got to watch the process of where it started and how long it took 2 years to get here.
That's, yeah.
And so,
Sorry, should we change that to 24 months?
yeah.
Or whatever, 24 times 30, 600 some odd days. Like it's a,
Yeah.
2 years seems like a little, but it was a lot.
It's been a long process, but you know, when you first started going, you know, through the process of trying to see if this was something that could happen and all that kind of stuff, like to me, I was just like, okay, it's just another idea. And just kind of like, you know, whatever. Sometimes I just like let you go do your thing and see if, you know, if you're able to get it up on its feet before I get like emotionally involved.
Thank you for ending by saying on its feet.
Uh-oh.
Keep going.
Okay. And so I don't know, like, I just think that this is such an incredible opportunity that is available right now. And
okay, we're going to take a quick little commercial break. Some more technical difficulties, but we'll get it all figured out.
You are a professional real estate investor. You are not a professional boxer. And you are definitely not a professional bookkeeper. Enter Fingo. Fingo is a professional bookkeeping service by and for professional real estate investors. Your life just got a whole lot easier, and your profits are ready to soar. Leave the bookkeeping to Fingo so you can focus on what's most important, finding the next deal and raising money for it. Schedule your free consultation at fingo.com.
Today's episode is going to require a lot of editing. Sorry, you were saying.
We're back though. Yes.
Something about me waiting to see if I could get it up.
Anyways, it was sometimes I just wait to see if like the ideas that you come up with are able to get on their feet and actually have something to stand on and to build upon because
I
sometimes
come up
things
with
don't
lots
work.
of ideas. Yeah. I'm
Sometimes, you know, either financing's like, no, this isn't possible and we need to move on from it and those types of things. So this was an idea where I just kind of sat back and waited. And then it's like, as you know, everything started coming together. It's like, holy shit. Like, this is possible. And yes, it was scary, you know, the first, like, okay, we're, you know, buying the property, we're going to do this. They're getting started. Like, of course, there's like some like, oh my God, you know, what's going on? Like, you know, all that kind of stuff. But
first time jitters.
Yeah, the first time jitters. But like, we're here.
Yeah.
And this is an absolutely incredible opportunity. And I feel like even if you're unsure about whether this is right for you or like if this is some like a journey that you want to take and you know like all that kind of stuff, like I feel like even just getting in the room and learning about why and about what the opportunity is and about how crazy of an opportunity it is.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I kind of think it's stupid if you don't show up just like for this session just to hear about it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like I wasn't
this
planning on. This is so cool.
I wasn't planning on talking about this today, but
I know,
you know, now that you
sorry.
brought it up, like maybe I will share the story a little bit. I was planning on doing a full episode maybe like later this week on it because there's lots of people asking more questions and I'm just telling them basically join us on June 12th. Because there's so many little nuances towards this about this that you need to understand. But I'll tell the story about it because it wasn't like this was like came up on its own in 2024. The reason why it specifically came up in June of 2024 was because we were in the middle of a relatively strong real estate market and a strong rental market. And we were very much going in an upward trend. And what I'm able to see because of my serious experience and knowledge in real estate investing in Canada, I'm able to see what's going to happen next. And what I forecasted, and the same thing I talked about in a podcast recently about a month or two ago, is that I think that Canadian real estate investing is going to hit an ice age. We're going to be hitting an ice age here. And what I mean is that we've been prosperous for a very, very long time, and an asteroid's going to come down, and it's going to reset everything. And there's going to be a very, very long period of time where a lot of the stuff that you're doing currently is not going to work anymore. The numbers will not match up. And we've seen it actually in a lot of Canada already. There's so many people that are like, I've even seen some people in like the YouTube comments and my comments and sending us emails and stuff like that. They're like, I don't know where you're finding these deals, buddy, but they're not in Canada. And I said, everything that you are seeing is correct. You just don't know where those little green patches still are. Because yes, Canada is freezing over. The opportunities are just not there anymore. You can't find cash flow in most markets. You can't find, and if you do, it's probably not in a market that supports landlords very good. You know what I mean? Like even if you do, like if things happen to take a turn in Ontario and suddenly everybody comes back, would I invest in Ontario? Absolutely not. The landlord laws are terrible there. It is not a balanced market for landlord and tenants. So I don't even want to invest there. Similarly with British Columbia, we could have, I don't know, like affordability could, let's just focus on one thing that's affecting our ability to buy good investments in Canada right now. Let's talk about affordability with our tenants. If, for example, all of these major projects got approved today and not in 10 years from now, you know what I mean? Whether that be all this big Build Canada projects that we're talking about. They're not going to be this year. They're not going to be next year. It's going to be like 5 to 10 years from now before they even get shovels in the ground. Let's just say they all started today and everybody's affordability went up because everybody started making significantly more money. And, we're getting more in tax revenue. So therefore, the government is spending more on other things as well. And suddenly, like, we don't have to focus on inflation. Let's just say that we had a very prosperous stage. Let's just put it that way. Okay. All the stars are aligned and suddenly people can afford things more. And if that were the case, then obviously we would start. This is a long story. That's why I told you it's going to be a full episode. Let's just say that happened. And suddenly we can raise the rents in British Columbia, right? Based on the cost of the expenses to buy a rental property in British Columbia, we can now charge enough rent in order for it to cash flow. Would I buy in British Columbia? No, the landlord and tenant laws suck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So even if things turned around, same thing in Ontario, even if things turned around and suddenly like cash flow is back, I still wouldn't. Because it sucks. It's not where I want to set up shop for my business. There's only a few provinces where I actually do want to do it. And one of them is Alberta because it's the best. Saskatchewan is second. And then like Newfoundland's kind of like third. Manitoba's kind of in there. But yeah, anyways. We are currently in a really, really, really strong real estate and rental market in Alberta right now. We're actually in it. The fact that like we're even having this discussion is silly. Like, why are we even looking anywhere else when it's literally right here? The problem is that it will run out because there's so much demand for people buying homes, and there's also so much demand from investors wanting to get in here and take advantage of this opportunity. The prices are going to go up to a certain point where the expenses are going to be too much, and the rent is not going to be able to cover it, and the cash flow will go away. The investors will pull out. And it will be stale for a period of time until we can raise rents higher than the cost to buy these properties and finance them. So we're this is the end. This is the beginning of the end for a period of time. And if you know that, then I need to be like, okay, if this is the case, then where am I going next? Well, there's nowhere really to go next. There's no more green spots in Canada. It's all going to freeze over. So this is why in June of 2024, when I was looking at this, and at that particular time, I'm like, I need to find something else. Because what I can do is I can keep my existing portfolio and just let it pay down the mortgage and let it get, small appreciation of 2 to 3% per year. And by the way, those returns are fantastic. My portfolio will still make a minimum 20 to 25% ROI every year, right? Mm-hmm. It always does. But is there something better that I can do? Can I get higher returns? Can I do different strategies? And I was looking at it and there wasn't anything. But that's when I started thinking about garden suites. That's when I started looking into it a little bit more. And I thought, I think there's something here. And originally at first glance, and what most people hear when they see this is, or most people see when they hear this, is that the math doesn't math. I've looked into it. I did the exact same thing back in 2019. I looked at it, said, nope. It was very quick, fast math on a napkin. No, there's nothing there. But I'm like, how? Yeah, I understand it doesn't work, but how can we make it work? What would need to happen in order for it to make sense? And during that research and during that development, I was able to determine a way to make it profit, a way to make it more profitable, higher cash flow. And in that research, what I developed was not only a way to make it more profitable, I made it the most profitable and the best cash flow in Canada, the safest investment, and not in Ontario, and not in BC, and not in Nova Scotia. In Alberta, the best place to set up shop for rental properties, for a rental property business. If you don't do this, you will regret it because it is the best. People are already regretting not buying townhouses in Edmonton. I've been telling people for 4 fucking years, almost 5. That's going to dry up too. The next one's right here. I'm literally sharing it for free with you. For free. Get off your ass and learn about it. For the love of God. Because once this dries up, I'm telling you right now, there's nothing else. And I will be referring to this episode in the future. Except it won't mean anything. Because
you can't do anything about it.
There's no fucking I told you so's in real estate investing. Nobody learns. Nobody learns that, like, I've been telling people all the best opportunities along the way, but then they're like, oh, I want to do that. I'm like, no, there's no going back. You have to keep up. You have to stay ahead of the curve. This is it. This is the best opportunity there is right now, that there will be for the next period of time, and then it will go away. And then what I predict is that there will be nothing new after this. How about that? You want to get 20 to 25% ROI like Wayne is? No, you'll be lucky to get 10. You can still invest in real estate. It's still better than what most other people are doing. By the way, 10% guaranteed ROI per year is still way better than what most people are getting, right? Most people are losing all their money, right? But you have an opportunity right now, and it is right in front of you, and we are here to teach you. We are opening the doors for, what is it, like $20?
Yeah.
Which is basically just to cover the event space.
Mm-hmm.
Was it Jeff Foxworthy? Like, here's your sign. Anyways, did I make a decent point?
Yes.
The excitement that we have right now is so strong because of the fact that we've been holding this in for 2 years and keeping it secret, because of the fact that we wanted to make sure that we did it first. Gabby was talking about those first time jitters. We had to go and do all this stuff first. We had to go and figure out all the financing. There was no financing available for it. We did it all cash. Like we've tested this and proven it. We're the ones that went through all the discussions with the city and the development office and everything else. Everything so that you don't have to. Now it's just an easy plug and play. It is an easy drag and drop. And partnering with Edmonton Garden Suites as well, the opportunity to just have four investor models, which you're going to learn about on June 12th. 4 investor models that are purpose-built specifically for profitability, cash flow, and tenant desirability. You are literally going to be able to take whatever one you want of the 4 and drop it on your lot. Not like with a crane. We're going to build, like they're going to build it, but ultimately it's very easy templates. You don't have to figure out the design. You don't have to go to the city and like try and get this approved and everything else, because if you try and do that, you try and buy a property and then try and do it all from scratch, you're going to be 2 years.
Yeah.
Want to know how I know? Because that's how long it took me, right? We're going to make this easy for you so you could literally go buy a property, or a property that you already currently have. You can literally get started next month.
Yeah. You know what else is really cool? We had 2 people who came out to the bus tour who are currently seriously looking into this. And
4. I haven't told you about the other 2.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, 4.
Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
No, it's like they're going to start popping up.
Yeah.
And you're going to miss out on the biggest fucking gold mine
and we
opportunity.
told you, if you came to that bus tour, you're going to get the first look. And these people are already in motion, taking the actions, doing what needs to be done to get started. So super cool.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, we're talking about like over $1,500 a month in cash flow. These things, it's crazy. It's crazy. So, anyways, we promised you that we'd be getting into the topic about landlords and tenants today, but I felt a need to
Yeah,
share,
sorry, I
to share my passion on that.
rabbit hole.
REIMasters.ca. Go get your tickets. Landlord and tenant court in Alberta. I mentioned this earlier. It's not called landlord and tenant board. It's not called landlord and tenant court. In Alberta, it's called the Residential Tenancy Dispute Resolution Service.
I don't know how you remember that. I can never say it.
I've said it a
Like
million times.
RTD.
Residential Tenancy Dispute Resolution Service. You just kind of, it's
You had to practice.
yeah, some people count sheep, but I just see those 5 words just like haunts
It's a
me.
mouthful.
It's a mouthful. But basically, it's a mediation service provided by the province for landlords and tenants in the event that there is any disputes. Dispute resolution service. Did you get that? Dispute resolution service is part of the name.
Yeah.
It's a very simple process. It used to be in person, but now it's all on phone ever since the pandemic, which is great. To be able to even if you're an employee and you're working during the day, you don't have to take a day off work, go drive downtown, go pay for parking and things like that. You just hey, I've got a thing that's really important. It's a half an hour. I need to go take this phone call.
Yeah.
And you go into your car and you do it. It takes 20 minutes in a lot of cases. So it's actually,
Yeah.
it's quite simple. And I think it's pretty great for tenants too. I'm just going to say this is that I like the fact that they went to phone hearings, because I think a lot of tenants, my opinion, or what I think is that a lot of tenants used to not file claims against bad landlords because they didn't want to take a day off work. Why would you go? And I remember Gabby and I had a similar situation back when we were tenants, young and beautiful.
Hey, still beautiful.
You are. We had a landlord that I can't remember. They took a security deposit or something like that, or they charged us for a month of rent after we came up with. I don't remember the situation, but they owed us this is a separate. Was that? Anyways, they owed us a few $100 or something like that.
That was a lot more than that.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, the justification behind it was that we didn't want to take a day off of work, and whatever that might be, say $200, $300 or something like that, to go for $1,000, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
And it just didn't make any sense, and we didn't even know if we were going to win. Plus, there's a $75 application fee. And if a landlord was to subtract, say, $400 for cleaning from your security deposit, and you thought it was clean, are you going to take a day off of work to go and fight for $400 or whatever?
Which is now $200 if it costs you $200.
But you're taking a day off of work, it costs $200, and you don't
not
even know
knowing if you're going to get it.
and you're not knowing. So a lot of people just never did it. They just kind of huffed and puffed and they never did it. But now that it's on phone, I think it is a little bit more fair. And that's what I like about Alberta. I'll just say that as well. We've said it a bunch of times here already, but Alberta is a very balanced landlord and tenant market, or province. So I like that it's fair, because everybody follows the rules, and if everyone follows the rules, it's a very simple process. We have some questions. I'd like to start with the question that came in by that woman about the RTDRS.
Okay.
Do you mind
want me to
starting
read
that?
it?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Okay. So says, hi there. Question for the show, please. I need some how-to/next steps information, please. I have a tenant that is taking me to the RTDRS in Edmonton. I have to research what the process is when a tenant does an application to dispute. Curious if you have any experience from this side. I believe I've heard episodes of you two starting the dispute process, but not when the tenant does. Hopefully all of the above makes sense. Thank you.
We don't have any information as to what the claim is or what.
No.
Okay. Well, I think that might be important, but
yeah, for sure. It would have been helpful to give some more in-depth advice as to how to move forward if we knew what the claim was and what kind of evidence you had and all that kind of stuff.
But it's still pretty. There
the
is a claim.
process-
There's a claim.
Yeah.
A claim. We just don't know what the claim is. So what's the process when you receive paperwork?
Yeah.
For a hearing.
Yeah, and really, you can just look at this almost identical to if it were you filing the claim and what you're serving upon the tenant, right? It's the same process. It's just that you're on the other end of it.
Right.
And so when a tenant files a dispute, obviously they go through that same process. They pay for the filing fee, they submit their evidence and make a claim to their case.
Evidence that supports their claim.
Yes.
Right.
And so depending on what their claim is, it could be a number of things that they're looking for.
Well, let's just come up with a couple just random, possibilities of what a tenant can be going after a landlord for. In a lot of cases, it's probably something to do with security deposit.
Yeah, if they've already left and
They've
they
moved
think-
out,
Yeah.
and they filed a claim for, an unjust amount that was deducted from the security deposit,
Yeah.
or unlawful termination,
Mm-hmm.
unlawful termination of a lease, or perhaps,
Or maybe violating their rights, like maybe entering the premises without proper notice, those
Yeah.
types of things.
So basically, a landlord, a whole list of things that a landlord would do that doesn't follow the Residential Tenancies Act, and also doesn't follow the lease agreement that's in place.
Yeah.
So any of those things, they're going to say whichever one that they are filing for, and then they're going to have supporting evidence to go with it to prove their claim and whatever compensation that they're trying to go for, whether that be to keep the lease in place, that it's an improper termination of the lease, or for getting the money back at the road.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
Okay, so when they file for that, they receive the same package that we would if we were to file. So they're going to receive a package, the tenant. So the tenant's going to receive the package that says, here's your hearing date and the hearing time, and also the package in which they submitted for their claim. So it's going to be all together with here's the claim that was made, like basically the form that they filled out for the claim, as well as a package of their evidence. And their responsibility is to take that package and to serve you with it.
Serve who?
You, the landlord.
Okay, we just got to be
So-
very clear here, because
Yeah.
might be people coming in late.
Yeah. So you as the landlord are going to receive this package that says, here's your hearing date, here's your hearing time, here is the claim that the tenant has made, here is all the evidence that they've submitted with the claim, and it's also going to include instructions for you on how to move forward. So if you want to make a counterclaim, or if you just want to defend yourself and submit evidence on your side of what they're saying, you can do that, or you can do nothing. You can just show up if you don't really have any evidence. That's your right as well. But they have instructions on how to do all of that.
Mm-hmm.
I think the most important thing that you need to note is that there's going to be an evidence submission deadline
For the landlord to
for the
submit.
landlord to submit anything that they're countering or that they're coming back and saying,
In their
"Oh,
defense?
wait, in their defense.
Right.
Yeah, so you need to make sure that you are aware of that deadline and that you submit everything that you have in time for that.
So it's pretty simple. You just submit your evidence online,
Yeah.
and then you need to serve that evidence to the tenant,
Yes.
and then you just show up
You
to the hearing.
up for the hearing. Yeah. And so I think if you've ever been on the other side of it where you've submitted a claim, I think you'll know that like the RTDRS is heavy on documentation. So your records of the tenancy and everything that's happened really matter. And that's why we're always drilling in. Even just yesterday's show, we talked so much about, the whole tenancy is in
Documentation.
preparation for this.
Yeah.
Right? And so how were you communicating with them? When things did go south, were you able to have records of that conversation and what actually happened? Or was it phone calls being like, you can't do that? Yes, I can. Was it all he said, she said? Right? So this is where documentation matters. And if you're going to defend yourself, I really hope that you have evidence to support that. Because he said, she said is really hard when it comes to RTDRS hearings. And that's where you tend to find that like the hearing officer is just basically like, well, I don't know what happened, but this person was being a real big pain in the ass in the hearing. And this person was being very level-headed. And maybe they might just side with the level-headed person who
They'll use their own discretion.
they use their own discretion. So the more evidence you have to back yourself up, the better. And so you're going to want to collect everything. You're going to want to kind of start to create a timeline. Again, I have no idea what the claim is.
Yeah,
so
it
it's
doesn't
hard
matter.
for me to really give you, direct what to do. But if you can make a timeline and you can sort your evidence in a really nice way that just makes sense, here's where it started, here's what happened, the initial conflict, here's how it was handled, here's how I followed, what my rules and responsibilities are. And now here we are, right? So if you can create like a timeline with your evidence and lay it out in that way where the hearing officer can look at it and say, and just read through it quickly, because that's what they do. They don't look at it until right before they take the call. So if they can just go, okay, then, then you're in a good spot for they understand your side and where you're coming from.
Yeah.
And that's it. You submit it and you show up.
It's
right?
that simple.
It is that simple. So yeah, just it's almost the same as if you were submitting. It's just now you're actually kind of have a leg up because you know where the tenant stands. You can see all the evidence that they submitted. You can see exactly the angle that they're trying to take. And now you have an opportunity to go in and be like, nope, 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 nope. This is what happened, right?
Honestly, like, we're so incredibly chill about this because we understand the laws and we follow them. And there is no piece of evidence or claim that they could have that could say otherwise.
Yeah.
Because the facts are the fact. The facts are the facts, and the act is the act. The act is the rules that govern landlord and tenants interactions. And the facts are very clear because we keep strong documentation. There is no, I might lose. No, you're not going to lose because the facts are the facts.
Yeah.
They cannot produce any facts that say otherwise because you have the evidence. Unless, of course, they're fabricating evidence, which there's again, is perjury.
Yeah.
The facts are the facts and the act is the act. So understand your laws, follow them, keep good documentation, and you will win every single time. We've never lost.
And sometimes people feel like getting sometimes the RTDRS hearing, the officer won't be like, yep, like this is the winner, this is what you owe them, or you're evicted. Like sometimes they'll make a conditional order where, depending on the situation, they might say that, so long as you follow what you're supposed to do moving forward, you can stay. That's not a loss. Like that's still a win for you because it's holding them accountable to do what they're supposed to do,
right,
and that they need to get caught up in whatever they've done.
Yeah.
Right. So sometimes people feel like a conditional order might be a loss, but it's not. That's still a win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully that explains everything. It's a pretty simple process. So to answer your question, it's no different than if you were serving them. It's just you're on the opposite side of it now.
Yeah.
It really is that simple. Okay, let's take a look at some of these other questions because we got some other questions that were emailed in last week.
Yeah.
So we're off the topic of hearings, and we didn't really want to talk about hearings today anyways, but now you understand the process a little bit more. Again, overcoaching, always overcoaching on the Canadian Real Estate Investing Morning Show. What happens if, okay,
it's hard to do a 180 because these are totally separate topics. Yeah.
What happens if the tenant doesn't move out? So let's just imagine that you're at the end of your fixed term lease and you've notified the tenant that, you're not going to be renewing them. And you are expecting them to move out. In Alberta, that's how it works. We're just going to talk about Alberta right now because, again, why would you invest anywhere else that doesn't let you? Yeah, let's just take a second. Why would you invest or set up shop for your rental property, your rental business in a market that says that we have a lease, we have a contractual agreement that it ends on this date, but then again, the tenant can just stay? Why would you operate in a province that doesn't have a legal end to that you are obligated to renew?
I would be such an anxious landlord in any other province, except a few of them. But
and by the way, they're allowed to stay, and you can only increase your rents this much every year.
Yeah, like a dictatorship.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Like, you understand my perspective from this? It doesn't make any sense. Chris is like, stop looking into my soul, Wayne. Like, why? Why even, like, I don't care how good it is. Doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah. So with that being said, in Alberta, at the end of a fixed term lease, let's say it's a 12-month lease, at the end of the 12 months, it is done. There is no weird thing where they still get to just renew automatically. Yeah. And so you contact the tenants and then they don't move out. What happens if they do not move out when they're supposed to in Alberta?
Yeah, in this situation, it's kind of one of those funny situations because, yes, we're in Alberta with these great laws, but when this happens, there's still...
It's not great. It's realistic. It's
But in this situation, there's still like nothing you can really do immediately, at least. Like physically? It's not like you can just show up at the door and be like, get out, and like start throwing their stuff out onto the lawn and pushing them out the door. Right. Or you can't just go and hire a bailiff or the sheriff and be like, look, this is my property, this is my title, get these guys out of here.
There are tenant rights.
There's still tenant rights, and so it's not like there's something you can do immediately, but there are great actionable steps that you can take. It's a process. There's a process. And so in this situation, what you need to do is you need to start that legal process, which is, again, we're back to filing at the RTDRS.
Yep.
Right. And so what you're doing is when you file at the RTDRS, there's a bunch of different options that you can select as to what claim you're making. And in this situation, it would be taking back possession of your property. Yep. And there might be a few other things added, like owed rent because they've overstayed and those types of things. So it's like, which add-ons would you like to select? Yeah. And you can pick from their menu. But yeah, you need to start the filing process. And unfortunately, it does take time. Yeah. And there's no solid timeline that I can give you. It depends on how busy they are and how far out they are holding their hearings. So in some cases, you might get lucky and it might be a week from then, or it could be 6 weeks from then. It just depends on how busy they are.
So getting on it quickly is your best practice to make sure that you get your hearing date as quickly as possible. And as Gabby mentioned, if during that time they stay and they don't pay you, and now you are owed money, then you would be entitled to the money that they owe you for that extended period. Yeah. It's a process. It kind of sucks. I wish you could just grab them by the, their collar and just throw them out. But it's fair because it protects tenants against bad landlords as well. So if there is a dispute, there is a dispute resolution service that does that. And the hearing is, like I said earlier, the hearing is very simple. Yeah. You provide the evidence. What's the evidence that says that they're supposed to be out? The lease agreement. Yeah. And what's their defense? Well, they don't have any evidence to prove that you did extend it, or that, there's no defense for them.
But you talked about it protects the tenant, and what could they possibly be protecting them from? Well, maybe they were on a month to month and the landlord didn't give them proper notice. Or maybe they were on a fixed term, but the landlord's saying like, no, I need you out early. Yeah. And like, it's not proper. Maybe the landlord isn't doing what they're supposed to do. So they need to be given the opportunity at an RTDRS hearing to say, well, no, wait, look, they haven't followed their rules. Or in this case, they don't have anything to say except like, I didn't want to leave, right?
A lot of people think that the RTDRS is for landlords, but I think that it's equally as much for tenants, because I would say that at least 75% of landlords, and that's being awfully friendly because all of our listeners are landlords, at least 75% of landlords don't know what the fuck they're doing. At least I'd say it's closer to, if I could speak freely, I would say it's at least 90 have no idea what they're doing. They've never read the Residential Tenancies Act of their province. They do not follow the rules. They make it up, and some people do know the rules, and then they just say fuck it and they just ignore them. Yeah. What are they gonna do?
Look in any landlord group online. It is horrific to see what people are asking. It's like just look it up and you can have the answer, but then also to see the responses of what people think the answer is, or they know that the answer is, no, I'm right, with some bogus, like, that doesn't exist.
It's quite sad.
It's crazy.
Because this isn't just like some, small industry or community, you know what I mean? It's not like it's some small community or industry of things that doesn't really matter. This is literally housing.
And people's lives.
This is where people live.
Yeah.
And I've said this before, and I get a lot of hate for it, but I think that there should be training for landlords. I think there should be a registry. Considering how many landlords don't know what the fuck they're doing, there should be training for every landlord, and there should be a certification. There should be a registry.
I wouldn't mind that. I'd take the course. I'd happily take the course.
I don't want. Well, you could take the course and just sign my name. I don't want to take a fucking course, but because I know what the hell I'm doing. You know what I mean?
No, I mean that. Like, I'd happily do it if it came into effect, because I would believe in that. There's purpose for it.
Yeah, I think everybody's got an aunt or a cousin or a grandmother. You know what I mean? That's being taken advantage of by an amateur landlord that doesn't know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's not fair. And I think that everyone should know the rules. Everyone should follow them. And I think in a province like Alberta that has a very fair Residential Tenancies Act, if everybody knew the rules and everybody followed them, everything would be okay. And yet, nobody knows the rules. Nobody reads them. Nobody follows them. And here's the deal. Let me just put it this way. Just imagine. I know this is way off topic. Just imagine, because I was shitting on Ontario and BC, and I'm not shitting on Ontario and BC people. I'm shitting on the laws in Ontario and BC for landlords and tenants. Can you imagine if everybody, let's say we all started from scratch, and everybody got the Alberta Residential Tenancies Act. Everybody read it. Everybody took a course. They followed, they passed the test. They registered. Everybody did what they were supposed to do, followed it. If that almost be like a utopia, right?
Yeah.
Everybody was fair. Everybody followed the rules. Everybody knew the rules. We wouldn't need to put all these stupid rules in place to protect tenants. We wouldn't need this crazy counterbalance to protect tenants from being kicked out in the middle of winter. We wouldn't need it because everybody did what they were supposed to do. Nobody was ignorant. The reason why it's as bad as what it is because 90% of landlords, at least 90% of landlords, are fucking morons and they keep taking advantage of tenants. So they fight for their rights. Of course they do.
To party.
It's the truth, right? And I hate it because it continues to keep happening in our province in Alberta as well. And it's only a matter of time before a bunch of fucking dumb landlords, some morons, ruin it for everybody else. And they start putting more they start counterbalancing it to protect tenants because tenants are being thrown out because, they bought our multifamily building and they kicked us all out with some unjust reason because they wanted to renovate it, increase the rents. Now they're charging $500 more. On the street, my mother, she has gout. She can't go up and down stairs. Like, this is the stuff you hear about on the news. Fuck around. Read the fucking act. Learn it. Follow it. And if all the landlords did what they were supposed to do, and then the tenants still didn't do what they were supposed to do, I think it would be more leaning towards landlords. Because we would be fighting for landlord rights. And we'd be able to make a decent argument. But what the fuck do I know?
Anyways, that's how you the process you take if a tenant doesn't leave.
Stupid people ruin things.
It's true.
So question, the other question that came in through email.
By the way, just to complete that thought on that topic, is eventually when you get to the hearing and they grant you for them to leave, if they don't just get out when they're supposed to, then at that point you have an order that you can enforce, and then you can get the bailiff to come and push them out.
You need a court order to give to a bailiff or a sheriff in order for them to be able to physically remove them and change the locks. You
still can't physically go in there and remove them, but you can hire somebody to.
Yeah. The other question was, can the tenant not pay rent on the last month and use their security deposit? This is a very common one.
So common.
You want to know why it's common? Because there's no way to stop it.
Nothing you can do except say, no, you can't do that. Because technically they can't. They're not allowed to. As per the act, they are not allowed to use their security deposit towards their last month rent. By law, no.
Yeah.
And you can say that. You can say, no, you can't do that. But you're in your last month of tenancy. How are you going to enforce it? Because to enforce anything, you need to file a hearing.
And what happens if it takes 6 weeks to get into the hearing?
They're
and there's
gone.
only 4 weeks left in the month.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what are you going to do? 2 weeks after they leave, you're going to take them, pay a $75 application fee and say, hey, they never paid me rent in the last month. And they say, okay. And they go, okay, you owe them rent. And they say, okay, yeah, but they never gave us the security deposit back. Okay, so how much is the security deposit? Is it equal to 1 month's rent? Okay, so they owe you $1,500 and you kept $1,500. All right, solved.
Are we good? You good?
There's no penalty. There's no penalty. You can't be like, well, I want pain and suffering damages. So there's none of that shit. They're basically just going to look at it and be like, well, they owed you $1,500. You got $1,500. Don't do that again. And they'll be like, I swear, mediator, I swear I'll never do it again. But they'll do it again because there's nothing stopping them from doing it. It's such a stupid little loophole that I'm surprised more tenants don't take advantage of. Now, here's the problem with that. We have a security deposit in place. Why do we have a security deposit?
For damages.
For damages. So here's where it gets a little bit tricky because there's almost always some little bit of cleaning or a little bit of damages. If someone stays for a period of time, I mean, we hope that the tenant cleans it into the same condition that we gave it to them. And we hope that it's in good repair. So we don't have to go and repair anything or clean anything. And in most cases, I'd say 50% of the time, it's good. 50% of the time, they get the security deposit back. But if there was like 2 hours worth of cleaning that cost $100, say, for example. Well, now they've used that security deposit towards their rent. So they owe you, in that case, if you took it to a hearing, made a claim saying, they didn't pay last month's rent and $100 for cleaning. In that case, what you're doing is you're going and filing a claim, a hearing for $100 because the $1,500 cancels out the $1,500 and it's only $100. So the question is, do you want to go fill out the paperwork and do a hearing for half an hour for $100? And back when we had to go in person, back before 2020, I would have never filed that paperwork and then driven all the way downtown, paid for parking, sat there in the waiting room for 45 minutes with everybody in there, walked into a room, waited another half an hour for the mediator to come in. He does his whole everything else. We're recording this. Is everybody this? Okay, show me your IDs. Okay, what's the claim today? All that for $100? I would have said, fuck it. I'd let it go. Mm-hmm. So thankfully, it's telephone hearings now. But even then, a lot of days, I'm just like, I don't want to like, Gabby's got to spend half an hour to an hour to fill that paperwork out. I got to spend half an hour on the phone. Then we got to serve the stuff to them. It's like, it's not worth $100.
Yeah. It's almost like there's an unsaid threshold that we have where like we decide if we're going to, do anything about it or not.
For us, at least.
Yeah. And there isn't an actual amount. We don't actually have a threshold, but like, it's kind of like we both look at each other and then we're like, not worth our time right now.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's an option. And of course, if there was also damages and if there was a full clean that was needed and all of a sudden it was $1,000 that was owing, like, of course you're going to file it and go for it. Right.
But then you have to collect on that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now you're going after them for that money. If they don't pay you, then you have to go through the whole collection process. And I'll just finish this question off, just roll this answer off real fast here because I wanted to share something else. What they're essentially doing is that security deposit is supposed to be used as security in the event that they don't clean properly or it needs repairs afterwards. And what they've done is they've essentially stolen that from you and forced you to have to go after them for anything additional. Because I see in the comments here, what if there's additional damages on the move out? Yeah, if there are additional damages, like damages as in like expenses or like cleaning, anything along those lines, things that are missing, that security deposit is supposed to be security towards that. So in the event they're supposed to pay the last month's rent, they've got a $1,500 security deposit. You're supposed to be able to deduct from that, provide them a statement of the account of the security deposit, and then return whatever is left. And what they've done is they've stolen that from you, forcing you to have to go through the legal process and file a claim and then go after them for it. And then at that point, hopefully they pay you. But even if they have an order, a judgment and an order to pay you, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're just like, screw you, come after me, right? So this is why I just want you guys to understand that like a few people are thinking right now, like, okay, well, what if they have bad credit? And what if they don't give a shit? And what if they already have other stuff in collections? I want to share with you guys and I remind you guys why we have all the systems that we have. A lot of the stuff we talked about yesterday in yesterday's episode about how to build a lease agreement. Also, a lot of the stuff that we teach in our courses about like how to find and screen tenants, finding and screening tenants. We have a great workshop on that in our mentorship program. All of the little systems that we put in place and the things that we do throughout the whole process in qualifying our tenants are all for this. Because we do not want to be in a position where we ever have to be like, well, they got bad credit. They already have other stuff in collections. We're never going to get any money from them.
Not even worth it.
Should you have accepted that tenant in the first place? Mm-hmm. Right? We have all of these little systems that we teach are all for this. All for this in order to protect you from situations and positions like this. Because we want to give you the best possible position with the least amount of risk. This is a risky situation. Would I waste my time filing a claim for $300 on a person that's got a 300 credit score and $20,000 in collections? No, I'm never going to get that money. They don't give a shit about their credit score, and there's already people ahead of me that they owe money to. I'm never going to get that $300. So I'm just going to write off that loss. I should have never accepted that tenant in the first place, though. Right? So if you guys want to learn about how to properly set up your systems and how to screen tenants properly to make sure that if this ever was to happen, and it will happen, it's happening to us right now, and I'll share that story in just a second. It will happen to you. If you want to learn how to properly handle it and put the right systems in place in order to protect yourself, join our AI Masters Mentorship Program. That's what we teach. We protect you guys from having to deal with shitty situations like this because they will happen. And I'll just share real quick because it's the end of the show. We do have a tenant right now that did not pay their last month's rent. And we've been trying to communicate with them. They're not answering anything, not answering phone calls, not answering emails. We sent someone down there to talk to them, and they said, I don't acknowledge it. Basically, they said, I know my rights, and you got to give me 90 days notice or 30 days notice or whatever the hell they said, which basically, clearly, they do not understand the Residential Tenancies Act, and they haven't looked at it. So basically, they're making up their own rules, right? My aunt told me this. They said I don't have to do this, and you can't come in here, and you can't do anything. And what they said was that they want to use their last month's rent, the security deposit for their last month's rent. But they're also indicating and insinuating that they're not planning on leaving either. So we have a situation like this right now where the tenants might not move out at the end of the month, and they're demanding that the security deposit be used for their last month's rent. We don't know if they're not going to move out until,
31st.
Monday. Yeah. We'll find out on Monday, on June 1st or whatever,
31st.
May 31st on Sunday, whether the tenants leave or not. We've already proactively taken steps, though. Do you want to share what we've done? Because they didn't pay rent this month. And in most situations, like, are you going to evict them for not paying rent? When it's their last month?
When it's their last month, yeah. So we did go through what we would normally do, even if it was like mid-term of their tenancy. And so, when we realized that they hadn't paid rent and that they weren't responding to emails, we proceeded right away with filing a 14-day eviction notice.
Right.
And because it was the last month of their tenancy and all the things we just discussed, that there's really nothing you can do, we also proceeded with immediately filing an RTDRS hearing, because we're not going to wait 14 days to see if they pay us the rent and then file for a hearing, assuming that maybe they might not leave, because now we're 2 weeks behind, right? So I filed immediately for the RTDRS hearing, because if they don't leave, I want to know that I have a hearing on the books and that I can proceed with that as quickly as possible to get them out. I don't want to be waiting 6 more weeks after May 31st when I find out they didn't leave to finally be able to enforce getting them out.
And right now, how far out were they booking? When's that hearing date?
June 9th, I think.
June 9th? So about 5 weeks?
Yeah, I think it was
so
about 5 weeks.
So the fact that you did that when you did it got us right to June 9th. So if they don't leave on May 31st, we're only 10 days from our hearing date after that. So
instead of 5 or 6 more
pretty
weeks.
decent, actually.
Yeah. I was really happy with the hearing date for sure. So yeah, we proceeded as we always do. This is a business. We're not just going to wait willy-nilly and see, well, we'll see what happens and we'll deal with it then. No, we have our systems. We follow them regardless of what month it is, where they are in their tenancy, what's going on. We have systems. We follow them. And like Chris says in the live chat here, $75 well spent. Yes. Yeah. Even if they do leave and I don't need to proceed with this hearing and it just, I just cancel it, I'm okay with spending that $75 because if they didn't, my cost would be a lot more waiting to be able to get them out.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's just a process. Yeah. And we also know there's nothing we can do about it. Yeah. Right. And so we've accepted the situation. Yeah. Just like I explained earlier, I wish there was something we can do about it, but there isn't. You know what I mean? It's a loophole and they're taking advantage of it and they're taking advantage of us. And we just accept the things that are, and then we know that there's nothing we can do about it. We've done everything that we can do. So we're just waiting until May 31st, this Sunday. We'll find out whether they leave or not. We haven't done, we've given them move out times and inspection times, but they're not responding to anything. So we're basically just going to show up and see if they're gone. If they're not, then we'll just wait till the 9th and then we'll follow the process, get the judgment and the order, and then we'll hire a bailiff and physically remove them. Yeah. Right. So by mid-month, we'll have them out and then we'll go after them for any additional costs that we've incurred, any damages. So damages, cleaning, and additional costs we've incurred because of the fact that they didn't follow their lease. So if we incurred any additional costs, like not being, let's say, for example, we had a tenant that was lined up and they couldn't move in and we lost money off of that, then we'd be able to go after them for that. So pretty simple stuff. And I hope that it's valuable for you guys. Landlord and tenant, management is it can be a little daunting. It can be a little scary, but when you understand it all, it's not. It's just a system and it's just a process and we have procedures for everything. And again, if you guys want to learn how to do this properly to reduce your risks and so that you're not taken advantage of and that you can run your business profitably, reach out to us, book a discovery call. You can do that on reimasters.ca. Tomorrow, come back and join us. We're going to be talking all about interest rates and what's going on with interest rates right now with the investor-focused mortgage broker extraordinaire, Keaton Kirkwood. We'll see you guys then.
Thanks for listening. Want to be coached personally by Wayne and Gabby? Then you should join the Real Estate Investing Masters Mentorship Program. Details are in the show notes to get started.